And whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Lukesh, and today I'll be talking about modifying herbicide resilience to counter glyphosate-resistant weeds. So to start off, in his Urban Evolution article, Eric Bender stated, around the globe, living things are evolving differently. And like urban creatures, weeds are also evolving. They're becoming resilient against herbicides. And now let's take a look into a few specific cases. So the first case I'd like to talk about is pigweed. While pigweed is prevalent throughout most of American farmland, it's very concentrated in the southeast regions of America. Pigweed is able to poison plants and also animals. If you look in the picture in the bottom, the pigweed has spines that are able to prick animals and poison them. And also pigweed is largely unaffected by glyphosate-saturated weed killer. If you look at the graph on the right, the yellow portions of the map represent glyphosate-resistant pigweed, and the red portions represent normal pigweed. And you can see the yellow greatly outdoes the red, so much of pigweed in America is glyphosate-resistant. The next case we're looking at is blackgrass. Blackgrass is commonly found in southern England, and like pigweed has the ability to reduce crop yields by up to 70%. Blackgrass also exhibits resilience to glyphosate-saturated weed killer. When you look in the map on the right, glyphosate resilient blackgrass is found in much of England and affects up to 20,000 farms. The commonalities between pigweed and blackgrass show that glyphosate resistance is an international problem. And so you may be wondering, why are herbicides so ineffective, and how have weeds been able to become resilient to them? Well, this can be explained by simple biology. So in glyphosate weed killers such as Roundup, Eraser, and Rodeo, they contain formulas that are meant to target a specific gene within weeds. And so when so much of this weed killer is used, up to 280 million pounds in America, that's where the problem arises. Because when so much weed killer is dumped on weeds, 95 to 98.7% of weeds will die, but there will exist a small fraction of weeds that are able to survive. They're able to survive because, as you can see in the picture, they'll be slightly different, and they'll contain a mutation on that gene that allows them to become immune to the weed killer. And since all the rest of the plants are dead, only the ones that have that immunity will reproduce and spread their seeds, meaning that the new local population will experience greater resiliency and resistancy against weed killer. And so why is this a problem? Well, there's a growing risk. As you can see in this map, this map shows just a few of the weeds that are resistant to glyphosate herbicide. And the problem emerges that if left untreated, there'll be more and more types of weeds added to this list. And so what do we know? What can we understand about our situation? Well, as Julia Watkins stated in her Resiliency TED Talk, we should look at the past and use that information to try and help ourselves prepare for a better future. So you look at this graphic here from 2002 to 2012 from the FDA, you can see that the colors and shapes have increased as the years have gone on. This shows that glyphosate-resistant species have increased in amount and variety as weeds are spreading and new ones are forming. And from this graphic, we can also infer that this trend has continued beyond 2012 and will continue to increase as the years go on. So with that being said, how can weed killers be modified to combat modern glyphosate-resilient weeds? So the first solution is change the formula. And what I mean by that is, I mentioned earlier how weed killers are designed to target a specific gene. Well, if that gene has become resistant, what scientists can do is they can investigate what other common genes are shared between weeds, and then Roundup and other weed killers can be modified to target that specific gene instead, so target a new gene. But with that, there are a couple of implications and limitations. First of all, more intensive research would be needed into invasive weed genetics, which can take up to a decade. Furthermore, the new formula could unintentionally kill crucial vegetation that contains the gene being attacked. So that means if the new formula is attacking a gene found in corn plants, then when the weed killer is used, it will take out not only weeds, but also corn plants, devastating farms around the world. And furthermore, agencies such as the United States EPA, the FAO, and the FDA have strict regulations on herbicides and weed killers, meaning that to get a new formula approved could take, again, up to a decade. So the second solution would be do nothing and let the weeds grow. And so you may be wondering, wait, I thought you just told me to that weeds are bad. Well, yes, but sometimes when there's a problem, the best thing to do is mitigate the problem instead of solving the problem. And so to do that, you can heavily cut back on herbicide usage, because if herbicides are the thing causing weeds to be resistant, if you cut back on their usage, you won't stop the spread, but you will slow the spread of resistancy. Furthermore, tracking the spread of glyphosate-resistant seeds allows farmers to plan and properly ensure that their harvest will be unaffected by weeds in the future. And then, as I mentioned before, some weeds, like pigweed, are poisonous. So if we are able to plan out and track where weeds are being spread, we can use weeds like pigweed to kill other weeds that we don't want in our gardens and farms. And once again, there are a few drawbacks and limitations that come with this. First of all, implementing seed tracking strategies consumes valuable time and money that farmers and agriculturalists just don't have these days. Furthermore, perennial weeds that continue to grow as they're left untreated and herbicide usage is cut down will prove to be a hassle, as farmers will have to spend more time out of their day to pull out these weeds instead of focusing more time on improving harvest and sustaining agriculture. And then lastly, if glyphosate resistant seed becomes too far widespread, global food chains and overall biological diversity could suffer. And that's all.
All right, so we have 2 questions for you. How did you select the strategies you used to gather information? Were they effective?
So first off, I listed out the importance of what information I needed. So first off, I needed to find what type of weed killers were being used, and then I needed to find out how they were being used. So to select the strategies, I first off just started with preliminary research, and then by going on to sort of like encyclopedias, and then I delved deeper into seeing how they were being implemented throughout the world. And what was the second part of that question?
Were they effective?
I believe they were effective, because doing that, I was allowed to find general information, and then going beyond that, I was able to find this. First off, I started by finding information on just the information about weeds, and then I went deeper and then found information on how they were affecting global agriculture.
Okay. And then lastly, how did you use the conclusions and questions of others to advance your own research?
So I looked at a research paper published by the University of Nebraska, which was done by two PhD holders, and they gave me preliminary information on weeds such as pigweed and blackgrass and how they're being affected, and then I used that to target my research and delve deeper into where pigweed was being found and how pigweed was being spread.
Okay, thank you very much.